Hi guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about university with my upcoming graduation / results. I thought I would mention it to you guys. There's loads of YouTube videos out there, especially around this kind of time and September time, about degrees, how to kind of plan for degrees, what books to get for degrees, how to handle, the workload and living away from home and all that kind of stuff. And being subscribed to a lot of booktubers, I see a lot of English literature degree advice videos, which is very helpful. I watched them myself when I first went to university. But today I want to talk about creative writing degrees, which I did, obviously. For those of you who aren't aware, I did English literature and creative writing degree, and they were split in half, so half the time I was doing English and then half the time I was doing creative writing. So this video is just going to be a little bit of my personal experience with creative writing, as well as some advice for you maybe thinking about doing it or starting it or whatever. I also want to mention that this is my personal experience, and this obviously took place in a British university, so it might differ if you live elsewhere. It might also differ if you live elsewhere in the UK. I don't really know how different unis set out their courses and stuff. But yeah, this is my personal experience of creative writing at university. The most common thing I get off people when I say I do creative writing at uni is A, kind of what are you going to do with that, and B, what do you learn? Both questions I don't really know the answer to, and I don't think many people who do creative writing know the answer to. Not every creative writing student wants to be a published author, I don't think anyway. People that I did seminars with and workshops with, people do creative writing because it's what they're passionate about and it's what they enjoy. It's not necessarily a long-term thing. You do it because you want to, not because you see a career at the end of it. If it does lead to other things and it does make you think, yeah, I really want to publish a book, then that's great. I took creative writing because I wanted to do it and I wanted to enjoy just writing for 3 years, not because I wanted to be, write a best-selling book. I can't actually remember making the decision, yes, I definitely want to do creative writing. I think it was just something that happened, and I'm so glad I did, because I feel like if I'd have done 3 years of just English, I might have gone a little bit insane. Creative writing was always the fun workshops, just the workshops where everybody seemed to gel. We were all mates, we really got on with our tutors, well, most of them, but I'll get onto that in a minute. And although it was a lot of hard work, it was something a little bit lighter than English. Which brings me on to my next point, which is, don't think creative writing is easy, because it's not. Okay, maybe compared to biology or nursing or mathematics it might be, but it's certainly not a walk in the park. It's very difficult. You will get set, usually, a task at the end of each lesson to do for your next lesson, which will be either in a week or 2 weeks, and you have until then to think of an idea, write it up, and then bring it to a workshop, which sounds fairly easy. But for me, personally, I did English too, so I would have a lot of reading to do and a lot of questions to think about for those kind of seminars. So did I always write for my workshops? No, I didn't. I'm not going to lie and say I did. I don't know many people in my seminars that wrote every single week and brought something in consistently. A lot of people were really good, but then a lot of people just brought in a few pieces of work a month, for example. The other thing that I mentioned was the fact that I would come home from uni and my dad would ask me, what have you learnt today? And I couldn't answer because I didn't really learn anything today. Creative writing degrees are much more about taking the skills that you already have and improving it and making you better and making you a better writer. It's not learning anything from scratch, and I think that's what people don't really get. You don't learn anything from it. But it is useful because you have professional people there to tell you the mistakes that you're making, as well as your peers who, okay, aren't professional writers, but they read a lot of books, they understand how language works. So it all comes together and it helps you be a more polished writer. So while you may not learn anything over your 3 years, your writing at the end of year 3 compared to the start of year 1 will be dramatically different. So over your 3 years you will do workshops, which are pretty much the most terrifying thing ever in the history of anything ever. Workshops basically happen maybe a couple of times a week, maybe a bit less as the years go on, and you will have to bring your own writing and your own stories to these and share them with people so they can read them and give their feedback. Just the idea of that as a first year, as an introverted first year, horrified me, and it still kind of did as a year 3. I'm not gonna lie, every time you give out that piece of paper with your whole week's worth of writing on it, it's just like, please don't break my heart. It does get easier as it goes on because obviously you get to know the people on your course. As a rule, in my experience, people are very, very kind. Teachers are not unnecessarily horrible to you. They will never mock you or shout at you for getting it wrong. They usually appreciate it that you brought something in, to be honest. And they will always tell you what is good and also tell you what can be improved, which is obviously very, very important and necessary. You shouldn't be afraid of giving criticism because, in my opinion, it annoys me when I get work back actually from people I've given it to and they just write, yeah, that's great. Well, that's not helpful. It's never not scary, but it's also a very fun experience. There's so many different stories that are brought in as well. We were reading a fantasy story, we were reading a kind of sci-fi story that was a bit like the 100 TV show, we were reading a kind of horror story, we were reading a contemporary, we were reading a children's fiction, so many different areas of fiction we were reading, and it's so much fun to be able to do that. So the modules that I did over a course of 3 years, keeping in mind I did do English as well, so it might not seem like that many. I did Facts into Art, which was a non-fiction module, and I really, really enjoyed that. That was brilliant. It was probably one of my first experiences writing non-fiction actually. I've always been a fiction writer, so non-fiction was new to me, but it was something I actually really enjoyed. I did creative writing skills, which is just what it says on the tin. It's just to kind of introduce you to creative writing degrees and just practice your skills a little bit. I did a poetry module, which I can't remember the name of. I did writing the novel character as well as writing the novel story, so obviously one of those focused on the creation of the character, their development, their personality, and the other focused on story and the different stages of the story, what should happen, and that kind of thing. I did a screenplay writing module, which was fantastic because I love film and all that kind of stuff. I did themes and transformation. It looked at fantasy writing as well as Greek mythology and retellings of Greek mythology and rituals and things like that, which was a lot of fun. We did writing the city in my 3rd year, which was great. We got to write on loads of different cities of our choice, both fiction and non-fiction, so that was great. I also did a big creative writing portfolio at the end of my 3rd year, so there was quite a lot of variation there. I want to just quickly talk about a few books that I recommend. Now, I know a lot of creative writers feel a little bit weird about books that can help you write or tell you how to write, but these help me, so I thought they might help you. The first is The Writer's Little Helper, and this is by James V. Smith Jr. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the one I use the least. So here we have how to keep a novel on track, narration, point of view, dialogue, stereotypes, naming characters, lots and lots of things that you can look at anyway. So that's really great. If you are kind of struggling with that kind of thing or the actual technique of story writing, then this is a really great one to look at. The other one that I use a lot, which I think I've mentioned in a video before actually, is The 5-Minute Writer by Margaret or something. And this is really great if you do struggle with writer's block quite often. It's something just to get your juices flowing a little bit. It talks again about kind of techniques to writing books as well as exercises at the end, which is very, very helpful, and I do them a lot, especially when I know that I haven't been writing for a while, and it kind of gets me back into the flow of it. So for example, there's an exercise here that asks, the phone rings, you pick it up and a voice you don't recognise tells you that your lover is having an affair. Write the dialogue exchange, and there's just loads of different stuff like that. Here's another one that says, in your mind create a room, a fantasy place in which you'd like to stay for a short while. Furnish the room in whatever style you like and include luxuries to help make your stay as comfortable as possible. Again, some people might not need this. Some people are just very, very imaginative and can just do it like that, you know, just ideas everywhere. But me, I feel like I can write pages and pages and pages as long as I get that one idea, and getting that one idea is very difficult. Once I get that idea, I'm fine. And then this third one is actually a book that the horrible lecturer told me to get, which I don't really know why I listened to him, but it did actually end up being quite helpful, so never mind. It is The Writer's Journey, which is a mythic structure for writers by Christopher Vogler, and this is the 3rd edition. This is for screenwriting and writing just in general, and it looks at the hero's journey in your story. So for example, it has these little diagrams in here, and it shows what most books are modelled on, not all books, but a lot of narrative is based on, which includes the stages of the hero's journey, which, I mean, if you can get hold of this online, maybe read a few passages online, that would be quite good, or borrow it from a library or something. It's worth reading. So yes, I definitely recommend these 3 books, and I will link these all down in the description so you can go and check them out a little bit more. So the big question in all this is, why would you benefit from doing a creative writing degree? And the simplest answer I can come up with is, if you like writing, if you enjoyed making your own stories and coming up with fictional characters and lands and adventures, then the simplest thing I can say is that you will enjoy doing a creative writing degree. Your writing will benefit massively from creative writing courses, even if you don't bring in work every week like I didn't. You know, if you bring in work kind of consistently, you will evolve your writing. You will pick up different things that you should be doing from your tutors and from your peers, and you will have a great time doing it. You will meet new people who like writing, which is another great thing that I've found. I have made friends with people who love creative writing, so it's a lot of fun to discuss writing techniques and things like that. You end up with some pieces of work that you are genuinely proud of because you've seen them change and grow. You've taken it from just a simple idea or maybe a line of dialogue to a big fleshed out 4,000 word short story. Creative writing is a brilliant degree to go into. It's so much fun. I hope you guys have kind of learnt something from this. It hasn't been very structured and it hasn't really been that informative, but I hope I've persuaded you guys to look at creative writing in some kind of good light. If you have any questions about it, then please leave them in the comments below and I will be happy to answer them for you. As ever, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!